welcome to Soul in Balance. My name's Alicia and I'll be bringing you a report on the new moon in Pisces that'll be happening on the 18th of March at 12:11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And like all new moons, it's about starting something new, setting new intentions, getting those ideas out there. But this new moon's going to be a little bit different because it's still touching on some sensitive areas. So areas of pain and abandonment that is still coming through. So stay tuned and I'll bring you the report. Okay, so this new moon in Pisces. So it's still going to be a little bit sensitive because we do have the moon, Neptune, the sun and Chiron in Pisces. So at this new moon, it is still touching on our soul wounds, our soul collective wounds, past life trauma, current life trauma, feelings of abandonment and rejection, whether it's from your primary caregivers or whether it's from lovers or whether it's from a job or whether it's from, a career that you've decided to go down or a new hobby or a passion. So these feelings of trauma and not getting our needs met and, trying to grasp on to anything that we can just so we can fill that void. So I think at this new moon, it's going to come down to changing the way we handle our emotions. So, how we perceive loss, how we perceive abandonment, and seeing maybe that, hey, these things that we didn't get is a blessing, and, working through that pain. So, connections to Chiron is really, digging up things that need to come to the surface so it can be healed, so we can be more in our heart space. Because when we're, bogged down and constantly in fear and escaping our pain and our trauma, we're not in our heart space. We're not being the best that we can be. We're not, sharing our love with others. We're not even sharing love with ourselves. So if we can heal at this time and set a new intention of, hey, I'm going to process my emotions. I'm going to look into them and feel them and go with the flow, because knowing that, the only way to get through your pain, through your problems, is to go through them. There's no amount of running or escaping or blocking it out or, whatever however you handle situations, there's no amount of that that's going to work. The only way through, the only way to be free of that is to go through it. So at this time, at this new moon, I think it's reminding us again is, hey, let's look at our emotions. Let's look at what we're doing. Can we go through? We can do it, and we can go through this. We've got so much help and guidance with those planets in Pisces, with Neptune there and Chiron there. It means that we're connected to the universe. We're connected to other dimensions of information and ancestral information. So we've got everything we need there. We've got all we need to go through. So go through what you need to go through and just get rid of it, offload it, let go of the stuff that's no longer serving you. Don't drag around that old garbage bag no more. So we've got a few more other aspects going on that's making this new moon a little bit difficult and triggering some other issues and revelations. So this is also going to be quite fun. So we've had Jupiter just go retrograde on the 8th of March. So retrograde means it's going backwards. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion and the truth. So when a planet is going direct, it is going out. And then when it is going retrograde, it's going in. So with Jupiter going in, it means it's going to be expanding on the inside, expanding our heart space and getting a more of an understanding of the intimate and sexual connections that we've had, especially from the shadow phase. So the shadow phase is the lead up to the retrograde. So the shadow phase is the planet slowing down. So Jupiter started to slow down on the 12th of December, and it will go right back to where it was until the 10th of July. So any relationships, any intimate relationships, sexual relationships, any committed relationships that come about around about the 12th of December, we're going to be going back over and expanding from the inside, re-evaluating, is how did I handle this situation? Am I going in the right direction? So it's all going to be about expanding from the inside so we understand. So we've got the outside knowledge now we need to go back and get the inside knowledge. So this Jupiter is going to be quite interesting at this time, and it's going to be exceptionally interesting because it's going to be making aspects out to Pluto, which is the planet of death and rebirth, the planet of transformation. So as it's going backwards and coming into the heart space, coming into and re-going over those intimate connections, it's also bringing through transformation and the things that we needed to heal and learn and grow from that experience. So it's going to be quite an amazing time, going back to probably about July the 10th when it starts to go station to go direct again. So yes, interesting times in matters of the heart. So let's take a look at Miss Venus. So Venus is currently in Aries, and she was previously in Pisces where she met up with Neptune and Chiron. So poor Venus, she has been in the underworld, and she's also been in the cosmic energy and then collecting all her wounds with Chiron. So we've seen Venus go through a bit of trauma. So Venus is our love. Venus identifies with the feminine. So whatever your gender spectrum is, if you more identify with the feminine, you probably more identify with the journey that Venus has been on. So Venus has just come through Pisces. She's collected all her wounds, gone through some past life trauma, and she's come through now to be an evening star. So she's shining again, and then now she's made her transition into Aries with Mercury. So now that fire is back. So anything, any power that Venus has lost through her journey, she's now claimed back in Aries and is standing strong, standing that superwoman that she is. And, you know, a lot of astrologers and old astrology says that Venus is in detriment in Aries, but I think that's totally incorrect, especially with the last Venus retrograde, where I feel that a lot of the feminine has gathered their power back, and I couldn't think of a better place for Venus to be right now, because she is a shining star. She is our passions. She is our creativity. She is the divine feminine, and you know, she's money as well. So yeah, Venus is making great aspects there, but she's also traveling along with Mercury, so she's got the help of Mercury there. But at this time, at this new moon, she's going to get the brakes put on her with Saturn. So any passions and any love and desire that you have is going to have the brakes put on you to see if that's what you really want. Is it the right thing for you at this time? And it's also a good time to reflect and to put up boundaries, like, hey, is what I'm doing serving me? So Saturn is the master of boundaries, of teaching, of rules, and bringing things into form, into the 3D. So this Saturn making aspects to Mercury and Venus is just going to, you know, amplify the commitment to what we truly desire. So we also have Mercury that is going to go retrograde the 22nd of March, so a few days after this new moon. So Mercury will be going back into Pisces. So obviously Mercury's come along, gone through Pisces, gotten into Aries, and decided, hey, I need to go and collect something back again from Chiron. So Mercury will be going back to our soul wounds, our core wounds. Maybe there's something we didn't connect to properly. Maybe there's something we didn't say. Maybe there's something that we didn't learn or understand. So we're going back over that aspect or that part to re-understand, re-evaluate, go over what's happened these last few weeks or month, to see if, hey, there might have been better communication, or there might have been more understanding that I could have offered at this time. So Mercury going back is going to be quite interesting. So, you know, with a lot of people in a lot of astrology, everybody says that Mercury retrograde is a tough time, and hey, it is for some. Unless you have Mercury retrograde natally, then you're in your heaven. So yeah, it's just about not making major commitments, not signing contracts, or making big deals at this time. It is really a time of going in and revising what's happened. Don't move forward with any new commitments. Go back and see and make sure this is what you really want. So at this time, and especially with Jupiter going retrograde as well, it's really just a time of going back in and saying, hey, am I on the right direction? Have I made the right choice? Yeah, so just be super careful at this time with the Mercury retrograde. And Venus and Mercury are making aspects out to the North Node in Leo, which is our heart space. So again, anything that we're going through with our desires and going back and getting that information is coming through to our heart space as a collective, and what we all need to be doing to move forward. So that could be, hey, living in your passions, but then taking that time to go back and making sure you've dotted the I's and crossed the T's, and you've been there and been the most compassionate person you can be, especially when it comes to soul wounds of Chiron. So, you know, let's move forward. Let's be the best that we can be and come from our heart space. Okay, so let's talk about Mars. Mars has been shooting through Sagittarius, expanding, wanting more, and wanting to travel and get out there and find more knowledge and find the truth and find what's real. And all that's about to come crashing down with the hit of reality when Mars moves into Capricorn, which is asking for structure and form and boundaries and rules. So that's going to be a bit of a hard hit for Mars. So we've had Mars coming through and expanding. So at this new moon, it's going to be making aspects to Uranus and also aspects out to Chiron. So that is asking Mars, the god of war, the warrior, the masculine, to stop and take a look at some of their wounds before it comes through and actually connects with Chiron like it will later in the year. So it's actually making aspects out to kind of send some information through for the now, and also aspects through to Uranus, which is asking Mars, which is our drive and our passions and our sexual desires and our needs and our primal instincts. It's asking us to create some more revelations. Hey, is this working for you? Which is Uranus, shaking you up, making you realize, whoa, has this way of being, has it served you? Like making you kind of head in the direction that's going to be more fulfilling for you, and, you know, especially your desires and the other people in your life. So when Mars makes those aspects, it's going to be quite interesting. It's also going to be, Mars is also going to be making aspects out to this new moon. So it's going to be pushing us again, especially because it's going to be at the end of Sagittarius and the start of Capricorn. It's kind of coming from the truth and expansion, moving into form, and then making aspects out to the new moon. So it's kind of pushing us to evolve emotionally, and especially in the place of Pisces, especially when it comes to being with Chiron and our soul wounds. It's making us like, hey, we've got to make these changes now. We can't keep going along the same road with our emotions. We need to be really taking it home, like making form of a new way of looking at our emotions and, you know, looking at the truth. So this Mars aspect is going to be quite different. So we've had Venus go through Chiron, and I know a lot of women, and especially people that identify more with the feminine, have felt quite distant from their partners or detached from somebody who more identifies with the masculine. And it's been quite hard, especially for those who identify with more their feminine and the Venus, because Venus has been in that underworld. She has been collecting her trauma from Chiron without much support from Mars. Mars has kind of just been out doing his own thing and, you know, just out there and, you know, learning new things and wanting more, and then kind of left Venus on her own, which is fine. Venus is a very powerful woman, but I think as compassionate and understanding as Venus is and the feminine is, I think when Mars comes through that exact same aspect as what Venus has just gone through Pisces, I think the feminine needs to have a lot of compassion for the masculine. Just like with some of the masculine has been, you know, really supporting the feminine and the feminine coming into their power. So I feel like the feminine needs to give that back to the masculine when the masculine eventually goes through Pisces later on this year after it goes retrograde. So yes, it's going to be an interesting time this year. So there's a lot going on this new moon, and this new moon in Pisces is going to be a little bit different to usual new moons. I feel like it's a little bit like a full moon, how we're needing to let go and release things, the things that we've collected and learnt through Chiron. So it could be a time of sacrificing something for the greater good of yourself, for the greater good of humanity, just to let it go. And put yourself first, because a lot of times we don't put ourselves first. And with the planets going retrograde as well, that's also a time of going back and understanding things properly. So, you know, it is a bit of a difficult new moon, and I do honestly wish everybody the best new moon possible, but still set your intentions. Set your intentions for what you want to get out of this, what you'd like to learn, new ways of dealing with your emotions, just for you. Like, do it just for you, because you deserve to be happy. And when you're happy, you know, those around you are happy, and you can make other people happy, and you've got so much love to give. Other than that, that is it for me. So if you would like a astrology reading so you can track the new moon and the full moon in your birth chart as it comes around every 2 weeks, or if you'd like a synastry reading, which is your birth chart and your partner's birth chart on top of each other, so you can see the aspects and what goes on between you, I do those as well. So please see the information below, and many soul journey blessings at this new moon in Pisces.